Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. Now we've got an outstanding video we want to show you.
Recently, there was an announcement both by David Cameron and by President Obama that they are willing to cut off aid to countries who do not recognize LGBT rights. Now, we want to object to that as just being manipulation.
President Obama issued a directive to all U.S. government agencies that engage in international activities to make advancing LGBT rights a top priority.
We have done more in the 2.5 years that I've been in here than the previous 43 presidents to uphold that principle.
The Obama administration defends the human rights of LGBT people as part of our comprehensive human rights policy and as a priority of our foreign policy.
For us, family stands at the heart of everything we do. We live for the family.
Gay rights are human rights, and human rights are gay rights.
We do not want any discrimination against anybody under any condition, whether sexual or otherwise. But we have to state clearly and forcefully that this concept stands against everything we stand for in Africa.
They actually said that for us to combat HIV and AIDS, we needed to legalize prostitution, legalize homosexuality.
Infection rates are going up in the U.S. They're going down in Kenya. They seem to be going down in Ethiopia now. They went down in a major way in Uganda, and yet we're going to these countries and telling them how to prevent AIDS.
Our approach is gradual. Abstinence, be faithful to each other, but if you can't, use the condom.
What is amazing is that these countries that are harassing us, smaller countries, in these countries, the rate of HIV/AIDS, it is said to be out of control.
What arrogance for us to tell them how to do something that they're doing better than we are. And that should be obvious to the casual observer.
UNAIDS published and circulated an email which was false and malicious about me because they felt that they needed to have in the document language relating to men who have sex with men and sex workers. As a result of the pressure that UNAIDS put to bear in this email, I was advised that my contract would not be renewed.
My brother Luigi and I had an opportunity to go to the United Nations, where we saw developed countries trying to force the African countries to accept comprehensive sexuality education.
It's about starting when we're with children about the expectation of roles, and we need to start there.
This kind of education tells youth they can have fun and have sex and just use condom. This kind of message was a death sentence to not only both of my parents but also my brother Rogerio.
This is because it lets our population believe they can let their guard down and they can actually behave in risky behavior because of the belief that these condoms can actually prevent AIDS 100%, and that is not true.
In Dr. Green's book, Broken Promises, How the AIDS Establishment Has Betrayed the Developing World, he says the research shows that the sexual rights approach to AIDS prevention, championed by the UN and Western donor countries, may actually be increasing the rate of infections, not bringing them down. And if he is right, millions have died unnecessarily.
Well, the end result will be deconstruction of of the family system and the family structure in Jamaica.
It is an affront to the principles of the UN Charter. A UN agency should not be allowed to overstep its bounds in such a manner.
What we're seeing is the LGBT agenda being pushed, like a carrot stick for aid money. You want aid money, then you must change your laws. These issues of gays, trans rights, transsexuals. This is a new form of imperialism, I must say.
But Stoneburner said that history will look back on this period and say one of the great abuses of the latter part of the 20th century is a failure to do AIDS prevention in ways we know are effective.
It's deception.
Please act now and go to standforfamily.org and watch the full documentary online and sign the petition to stop cultural imperialism. Let's unite with people across the world and stop the abuses exposed in this film.
Rick, what did you think of that?
I think it's a great video. It's an
eye-opener.
It's an eye-opener. It's great in the sense that it's an eye-opener. It's not a pleasurable thing or a wonderful happenstance, but to see our government using. When I was growing up, and when we were young men,
yeah,
America was always criticized because it was always trying to influence other countries to take up what quote unquote used to be called the American way.
Yeah.
And we were considered to be imperialists, even though we didn't go anywhere and conquer and stay. We'd win, we would help, and then we'd leave and come home. But we were seen as being imperialistic because we would try to at least exhibit our values to other people and try to present them to them. We're involved in imperialism again, only I think this is really imperialism.
Yeah.
We have, over the years, we've used foreign aid as a method of influencing other countries, for our interests. Every country does it. Every country that has most first world countries do things for third world countries to try to encourage them to support their programs and ideas in the world. But this time what we've begun to do is do something very, I think, ungodly. America is still in a struggle over same-sex marriage, okay? America is still not on the same page when it comes to special rights for people who have chosen alternate ways of having sex.
You're right.
Okay? People who we're still figuring out how we're going to deal with each other around the issues of men that want to dress like women and women that want to dress like men. We're still dealing with these things. Yet now we have a State Department and a president that is using the power of foreign aid to force third world countries that have an idea about the family being a man and a woman together for a lifetime, who believe in abstinence, who believe in no matter what their religion is, these are principles of the foundation of our culture and society that we have agreed with going back to time immemorial, okay? And now all of a sudden we're using foreign aid as a tool to force people in other countries to change their laws,
to be more ungodly,
to liberalize their policies on sexuality.
Right.
We're not talking about discrimination. What we're talking about is forcing an acceptance. They're even forcing them to accept the legitimizing sex workers or prostitutes.
Yeah, prostitutes.
That's part of the UN policy that the U.S. U.S. State Department is now pushing.
See, the other side of this is, whose money are they using to bribe these countries?
Yours and mine and
everybody. And yours.
And yours, yeah.
Okay, so they're taking our money,
yeah,
and using it to promote an anti-Christian worldview.
An anti-Christian, anti-God world.
Anti-God, worldview. Now, the same thing happens in the public schools.
Well, we can't hold it against there. Everybody's not pro-God and everybody's not pro-Christian.
Yeah.
Okay? But the foundation box of culture has always been a very normalized, unified picture of the family.
Right.
And what this is doing altogether is attacking the stability of what that concept is.
See, now, there was a time when marriage was the standard.
You don't have to be a Christian and you don't have to believe in God to believe in that. Go ahead.
But the thing is, there was a time when one man, one woman was accepted.
Oh, no, not anymore. But go ahead.
I said there was one time.
There was one time, yeah.
See, and then they took money from the Christian people and promoted the anti-God situation.
Right.
And now it's all confused, you know.
Well,
it used to be a pro-God, 50 years ago before they took prayer out of the public school.
Right.
People believed in God and honored God, but now that they've forced them by taxing believers.
There's a difference in what we're confronted with now. When you and I were young boys, okay, people who were immoral knew they were immoral.
Yeah.
And they didn't argue about their immorality.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't tell you that if you walked up and said, "Are you a moral person?" They wouldn't say, "Yeah." They would look at you and say, "Eh." I do my thing. They, some innocuous term they would use. I had my mom had a relative that she was very close to, and my mom was a very honest, straight-laced, straight down the line, holy person. I mean, really, she drove me nuts with it. Okay, but she had a cousin who was a pretty notorious gangster in Louisville back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. In fact, he died a very violent death on his way to my mother's wake. He never made my mother's wake. They found him, assassinated. He was, but he always, his thing he loved the most about my mother was the fact that she was always consistent in her character and her integrity. And it was like they would communicate. That was kind of like when he would talk to her, that was his going to church.
That's right.
You see, and but he would never tell you that he was a good guy. He was a fence. He made money off people that sold drugs. He wouldn't tell you. No, you say you're a good guy. So he said, well, I don't know about the good part.
Well, the thing is, the government is now trying to push special rights for homosexual behavior and prostitution using our money.
And they're doing it, promoting that it's righteous. They're saying to these people in these African countries, according to that trailer that we just saw.
Yeah.
And know this, that trailer is a trailer of a documentary that's 32 minutes long.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you go to standforamerica.org, you'll be able to see download the full documentary. But what they're doing is they're claiming that this policy will help to defeat AIDS.
Yeah.
When the policies that they're following in those third world countries, which is abstinence, being married and staying faithful to one another, or then, if you can't, at least using a condom, has helped bring a resurgence in health for Uganda, Ethiopia. They named a couple other countries because they're dealing with abstinence and they're dealing with faithfulness inside the family.
Yeah.
Has helped to lower it. And if you remember, 10, 15 years ago, actually George Bush did a great deal while he was in office.
Yeah.
Because the first year he was in, I think he started giving $15 billion a year for aid to AIDS in Africa. And one of the reasons why President Obama wanted him with him in Africa is because President Bush is extremely popular all over the continent of Africa, because Africans know what he did while he was president.
Well, the thing is, these African countries are lowering their AIDS rates,
Yeah.
and ours are going
Yeah,
up.
and we're trying to tell them we're calling evil good.
So that we're trying to make it worse.
Yeah, yeah. We're promoting a value, we're promoting a policy for them that will take them back in the direction they've struggled to get away from. You know, because part of how they turned it around was was adherence to conservative, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Islamic, or no matter what you are. You know, the idea that you have one, you keep your sex within the marriage, and you keep faithful within that marriage, or you don't participate at all.
Yeah.
That is how you control AIDS.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
and it works.
And it works every time it's tried.
Yeah.
You know, but they want to tell these people to substitute the good thing that works and take the evil thing that has us struggling with an AIDS epidemic that's rising every year. In France, I mean, it's epidemic in France among men,
Yeah.
among gay men.
Yeah.
You know, because the promiscuity, it's spread by the activity, and there's no other way you can control it unless you control the methods of transmission. You got to control the activity. But anyway, if people will go to standforamerica.org, they can see both those videos.
You know, some people believe in God, and some people are trying to get rid of God.
Yeah.
And, you know, the God protects people if they will follow his suggestions or rules. But
ain't no suggestion.
No,
Yeah.
they're rules.
Yeah.
Okay, but see, and they are trying to get people to not follow God's rules.
Exactly.
And to get rid of God. That's who took the prayer out of the schools, the Ten Commandments out of the school, the Bible out of the schools, and creation science out of the schools.
That's why we shouldn't be surprised. There's got to be one enemy. It's not just all these people. You know, it's got to be Satan behind it. You know.
Well, the thing is, they got all the money they want to promote their message because it's your money and my money and your money.
They get jobs working for the government and in control of government bureaucracies, and they use that power that they have at that point.
Okay.
The Muslim Brotherhood's connection to Benghazi.
Yeah.
It appears that they've come up. This is Dateline, Wednesday the 26th. June 26, 2013. This comes from Town Hall columnist. I guess it's townhall.com.
Yeah.
The author is Kevin McCullough. What is it? He's got a radio show on Saturday night.
Oh, he does?
On Salem Network. Baldwin McCullough. They have a radio program that comes on Saturday nights.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
But anyway, he's written an article here. There's a letter that's been discovered that connects Mohamed Morsi, the prime minister of Egypt, who was recently deposed.
Yeah.
That points out that he was supporting financially and with personnel some of the people involved in the attack on the Benghazi embassy.
Unbelievable.
Now, that's where we're getting it from. We're getting it from a reliable source.
Yeah.
And but Kevin McCullough, and it's from Town Hall columnist. That's the blog.
Yeah.
The blog site. But it appears that, and in my reading of it, there were even people who were mentioned as being sent from Dr. Morsi.
Yeah.
You know, there were people that were interviewed who admitted that they were sent by Dr. Morsi from Egypt, and they were all Egyptians.
Now, you know,
to attack our embassy in Benghazi.
Obama
why don't we
didn't like Mubarak.
No.
And kind of pushed him out and helped Morsi get in there.
Morsi get in.
And now all of this is coming out about Morsi.
Right.
And it's just
and
one scandal after another.
And we're thinking about our State Department is thinking about supporting Morsi. 30 million people in Egypt over the last couple of weeks a day have shown up to say, get this guy off of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, the army, in order to avoid a revolution, stepped in and took him out.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
didn't kill him or anything, just took him out of office.
Yeah.
And they're going to go through the process again like they went before. This man, over the last few months, has set aside the Supreme Court. He set aside the Constitution that they all wrote together that led to him being elected prime minister. Well, he was elected prime minister over that process to write a constitution. It guaranteed religious freedom and all, a great deal of freedom in Egypt. And as soon as he got in and did what he thought was solidifying his power, first thing he did was take away religious rights. Christians are in all kind of trouble over there now.
Right. Right. Burning their churches.
Burning their churches and so forth. Didn't shut down the Supreme Court, but overruled them and took them over. Set aside the entire Constitution. So now he gets to make all the rules.
Right.
And because the people rose up against that, now we have hypocrites in our government saying, but he was the elected Democratic leader. And so we have to support him because he was elected by those people. Well, now those people are saying this man is not administering us, which is what we elected him to do.
Yeah.
He is oppressing us.
Right.
And we reserve the right to throw the oppressor off. And now we're all of a sudden going to jump up and support him.
Now, Rick, here's one other thing that
Okay.
we might want to mention is there is a school out in Colorado, and it's called the Rocky Mountain High School in Colorado, and it says that religion is at the very core if we will not honor the true and living God as God, then we will fill that vacuum with a false God.
Outrage is now building over what they did at Rocky Mountain High School in Colorado. Students were encouraged to recite the Pledge of Allegiance over the loudspeaker in Arabic, replacing under God with one nation under Allah.
And they're trying to say, oh, well, Allah and God, it's all the same.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're trying to say. But two different characters, two different characteristics. When you read one book, you read of, especially in, throughout, you read of a God of grace, because God didn't always drop the hammer when he was supposed to, even in the Old Testament. But the character and the disposition of the God that I hear about, that are things that I've read in the Quran, that guy doesn't that guy doesn't miss an opportunity to drop the hammer.
Right. In other words, the Christian message is God loves you, he died for you.
Yeah. Forgiveness is available.
Yeah. And
redemption.
Turn to God.
Yeah.
And it's a voluntary, but under the other program, it's believe in Allah or we'll cut your head off.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Or we'll tax you.
If you're a Christian and you're a Jew, and they decide that in this particular part of the world we're not going to kill you every day, you pay a demi-tax, and which is you pay the government and the culture and the city and your neighbors for the right to exist. And from what I understand, people that have lived under those kind of cultures, that doesn't guarantee you that if another citizen wants to come take over your business, they can still come and do it. And if they want to come take something you have, and you're a Jew or a Christian in one of those cultures, they can just come and do it, and there's not much you can do about it, or anything about it. That's what happens when you live under Sharia law.
Yeah.
And you are not Islamic.
And they tell you what to wear and
yeah,
what not
they tell
to wear.
you what to wear and what not to wear.
Who you can talk to and who you can't talk
to.
Yeah.
And you can get, if you're a Christian, you can get someone who engages you in conversation. Literally, you could get them in some serious trouble, and maybe their lives would be in danger if somebody misunderstands that, what the context of your conversation was. You could go to jail for proselytizing when you did no more than just say, well, God bless you, as you parted.
Mississippi and Florida have put prayer back into their public schools.
And they said it couldn't be done.
Said it couldn't be done.
I mean,
But
I
they
really
did do
didn't
it.
think it could be done. It surprised me when you told me about that.
But we can do it here in Kentucky too.
Yeah, it just goes to show, even when you think you got faith, evidently I didn't have much faith on that question.
You got good faith. Now,
Yeah.
what we'd like to do is send you one of these petitions so you can take it to your church or your neighbors or your friends or relatives or work and get these petitions signed.
Right.
And all you have to do is call that same number, 893-2444. And we're going to try to get this in the state fair and all the fairs all over the state. And we're going out to all over the state and try to have meetings and promote this, because I think the downturn of America all started when they
Oh yeah,
got rid of prayer.
I believe the seeds were planted a long time ago, but the seeds didn't get to germinate until after the influence of God's word was begun to be pulled out, begun to
Right.
be made
Now,
not present.
This side of this is we
videos?
have, I think, 27 videos or DVDs.
DVDs, yeah.
We'd like to make you a missionary, and we're going to send you everything you need to do your job, and just call that number, 893-2444 right now, and we'll get it in the mail to you.
We had in the struggle in Texas.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to pass an abortion law. It doesn't end abortion. It's just talking about, after 20 weeks, no abortion, because we know that the baby can feel and the baby is fully formed, just little.
Right.
And that's present further back as well, but they're trying to get what they can to save as many babies as possible and to save as many women from going through that experience as possible.
Right.
And also to hold abortion clinics to the same standards of cleanliness as your office.
Right, or any other.
Or any other medical facility. What happened in Texas, they're trying to get this
Yeah.
law passed.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, there were two groups demonstrating, a Christian group and the people that were for
abortion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Christians are singing. They had a real odd thing happen. The people that were singing "Amazing Grace," and in refrain, the pro-choice people were saying "Hail Satan," and it's out there now. They can't deny that.
Yeah.
They're saying who they serve.
Now, well, listen, Rick, we're about out of time. We appreciate Rick Holland being here, and we want you to tune in again next week for the rest of the news.